It was a parallel war, Owen. It's a media war, the information war.
We're getting some information from Ukrainian sources, but then we're not really having anything to back it up.
Media outlets in the UK, in the US, it just now repeated every day the government narrative.
You will have noticed in the dispatches coming out of Ukraine that more and more media outlets now refer to the country's capital as Kyiv, not Kiev. They're opting for the Ukrainian pronunciation over the Russian one. It is a slight but significant change in terminology, an indication of which way the winds are blowing in this information war. There are tit-for-tat measures taken over the information side of this war by political players and big tech companies. The European Union has banned Russian state-owned channels RT and Sputnik, leaving it to its member states and their regulators to enforce the new policy. YouTube, TikTok, and Meta, which controls Facebook and Instagram, have all blocked RT and Sputnik news content. Google has removed the channels from its news search tool and dropped their mobile apps from its Play Store.
Taking Russian media off the air on the West is a bit of an overreaction. Who is this supposed to protect? It muddies the water on who is suppressing speech.
Now, what we are seeing a lot in the criticisms that are leveled against us is the accusations that don't say that, oh, what they're saying is factually false. They're saying this is a perspective that we cannot possibly allow in our space.
For me, I would say that rather let it remain available so that people can see both sides of the conflict. Otherwise, if we rely on one narrative, we tend to get to a situation which we don't realize and understand what's really happening in Ukraine.
They're also suggesting that Ukraine has biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine. That's a clear sign he's considering using both of those.
That was a great example of what we're talking about. That was based on declassified intelligence, but we're also told the intelligence wasn't very clear about what exactly was going on. It's clear what the strategy is here, is to get stuff out that is designed to, again, show the Russians, the United States knows what they're doing. So really interesting and unprecedented use of intelligence here, Al.
Efforts and the creation of false narratives have been so important. I think we have had a great deal of effect in disrupting their tactics and their calculations and demonstrating to the entire world that this is a premeditated and unprovoked aggression built on a body of lies and false narratives. So this is one information war that I think Putin is losing.
If truth really is the first casualty of war, then nuance in reporting would come a close second. That is the kind of journalism that is coming out of Ukraine.
This isn't a place, with all due respect, like Iraq or Afghanistan, that has seen conflict raging for decades. This is a relatively civilized, relatively European.
This is not a developing third world nation.
These are Christians, they're white.
I think the sense of worthy and unworthy victims, I think really plays into a deep-seated, not just a racism within a lot of Western press, but also a sort of sense of quasi-imperialism where certain wars are justified, but many others are not.
I have personally exposed several fake news spread in the European media. The fact that Mariana, the girl who was the symbol of the bombing of the Mariupol hospital, had not been kidnapped by the Russians. There is no trace of this fact-checking in the mainstream press. What game are we playing? I'm an independent reporter. My work has been recognized internationally, but I cannot work in Ukraine because I'm on a blacklist, Miratvorets, in which I'm defined as a criminal, only for doing my job and bringing my point of view to the audience, a point of view documented by 8 years of work on the field.
I saw the war, I saw the death with children, I heard the bombardment. I know there was fighting going on in the Azov steel factory. But there's one side of the story, and this one side is only brought to Europe, that we are censored in Europe, that we cannot speak the truth.
I think the worst thing is to be sighted and not see or not want to see the truth.
The last war among people will be a war for truth. And I think that it's time people in whole world to speak the truth to stop this war.